What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City video. Today we're going to be doing a Manchester City transfer update. Before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget social media links, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, they're in the description. Email also in the description too. If you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries, do leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim, and also don't forget as well to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So we're going to crack on with this video. We're going to start off with some contract news, and we've got some big news when it comes to Erling Haaland. Now, Jack Gaughan has said that Erling Haaland, he's interested in signing a new deal at Manchester City, but says that any new deal will have to have a flat release clause in it. His current deal does have release clauses in them, but only if certain conditions are met. One is dependent on the future of Pep Guardiola. He's signed a new deal, so that's no longer a problem and it's no longer active. The other, I think, involves next summer, but the details are a little bit iffy about that, and I presume that's why Manchester City may be looking to try and get at some point this season Erling Haaland onto a new deal, so when he does have a release clause, it will be for a lot of money, and there won't be so many complicated clauses involved in that. So what I mean by that would be Erling Haaland signs a new deal. He may say you can have a release clause in it. It might be worth £200 million, for example, and then that might not be active until the summer maybe of 2025 or summer of 2026. It puts the ball not only into Manchester City's court, but gives some control to his future for Erling Haaland as well. It is believed that Manchester City are aiming to get Haaland onto a new deal that would see him stay here until 2028. He has a current deal which expires in 2027. His pay at the moment is north of £400,000 a week with bonuses. I've heard rumours that he's pushing for even more money on top of that. And Manchester City, of course, it's a massive commercial deal. Erling Haaland is the player that sells the most shirts at Manchester City. He gets bums on seats. He gets people watching and paying attention to Manchester City because, quite frankly, Erling Haaland, he's one of the best strikers in the world. He's one of the best players in the world. He's one of the most in-demand players in the world as well. So it is a situation that needs to be managed correctly by Manchester City. It's seemingly looking like Erling Haaland settled and happy at Manchester City, so he'd like to commit his future for at least another year on top of his current deal, which I think is a good deal and good news there for Manchester City. Now, moving on to the outs, we've got the very latest on Kalvin Phillips. Now, Mark Douglas has said that Kalvin Phillips, he's likely to leave Manchester City in January, and it's more than likely that he will leave on loan rather than permanently. And I think this is another transfer deal that needs to be managed very carefully by Manchester City when it comes to Kalvin Phillips. The biggest concern I've got about Kalvin Phillips, and it isn't due to his quality, I actually think if you gave Kalvin Phillips a run of games, he will be able to showcase his quality. The fact that there's quite a few clubs interested in signing Kalvin Phillips tells you all you need to know. Manchester City just cannot offer Kalvin Phillips that game time that he's looking for to develop, to improve and get better. And the fact that we've had Rodri suspended, there's been that space in his position, and Manchester City just simply haven't utilised him. And Kalvin Phillips, when given the chance against Newcastle away in the Carabao Cup, he's just not grabbed it with both hands. And it's seemingly looking like if Kalvin Phillips wants to be on that plane to Germany in the summer of 2024 with England, he's going to be needing to play on a regular basis. So it would make sense for Kalvin Phillips to leave Manchester City in January. A lot of clubs aren't in the position to spend a lot of money in the mid-season. A lot of clubs don't want to depart with their players, so a loan deal would suit. So I would presume that Manchester City would be pushing here more for a loan with an option to buy. My biggest concern I have with that is that Kalvin Phillips is very injury prone, and if he picks up an injury, and the suggestion would be that at some point in the 6 months that he'd be at this club on loan, he would pick up an injury because that's how his track record is with injuries, and then they're not going to take up that option, and then Kalvin Phillips' value goes down. But if he stays with Manchester City and is around the first team squad, he's always going to hold a good value. And to me, a good value for Kalvin Phillips, I've been looking at the very least trying to get our money back. I've heard numbers somewhere between 40 and 50 million pounds. If he ends up going, for example, I'll just pull a name out the hat. West Ham have been linked with him, so if he goes on loan to West Ham, he picks up an injury in January sometime and he's out for 3 or 4 months. He doesn't really feature for West Ham. He comes back to Manchester City. His value is no longer at 40 to 50 million pound. He won't be going to the European Championships in the summer, and all of a sudden it's been a bad bit of business there for Manchester City. So it needs to be managed correctly, and I would be pushing, if I was City and was going down that loan route, I'd be looking more for an obligation to buy rather than an option to buy, even if it means accepting maybe a little bit less just to take that risk away. So if we're looking for 50 million pounds, accept 45 million pounds instead, have him on loan, but you've got to have that obligation to buy, and that's something that City didn't do last summer with João Cancelo, and it's still a situation that could end up Manchester City getting stuck with João Cancelo because Barcelona have only taken him on loan. There is no option to buy. There is no obligation to buy. It's believed that Barcelona do want to sign him, but we've already starting to see rumours of his attitude coming out in training sessions and his attitude towards fans and comments getting made. I'm not so sure that that is going to happen, and that's the risk you have when it comes to loan deals. And to me, if you're going to explore that route and you want the player to leave at some point permanently, push for that obligation to buy, even if it means accepting a little bit less just to take that risk away. Now, moving on to the ins, Harrison Parker. He's officially signed for Manchester City from Manchester United. He's an academy player, 17-year-old defender. Feel like he's made a very good call there. He's made the right decision, and I want to wish a very warm welcome to Harrison to Manchester City and wishing him the very best of luck whilst he is at the club as well. Another fabulous academy player getting added to the Manchester City CFA. Now, moving on to the final transfer of the ins takes us on to an update on Xavi Simons of Paris Saint-Germain, currently out on loan at RB Leipzig. And this is very interesting. Mark Douglas says that Manchester City are currently keeping tabs and are interested in signing Xavi Simons from Paris Saint-Germain in the summer. Manchester City will be looking at midfielders. Man City will be exploring the next upcoming prospects and players that they want to add to their squad, and midfield just seems to be that big problem. We don't know what's happening with Bernardo Silva. We don't know how Kevin De Bruyne is going to recover from his lengthy spell on the sidelines with his hamstring injury, and we still seem to be somehow a player short when it comes to midfielders as well, even though we've already added Mateo Kovacic and Mateus Nunes to our midfield. Now, we're getting heavily linked again with Lucas Paqueta. That deal cannot happen until he's cleared his name with these betting allegations. That will happen at some point this season, I suspect. I personally don't feel like he is guilty. He'll be able to clear his lines, and West Ham will be able to accumulate a lot of money for him. But that doesn't mean Manchester City aren't interested in other midfielders, someone who can offer a little bit something a little bit different to what other midfielders that we already have, and Xavi Simons may just be able to offer that. He's a no-fear midfielder, likes to distribute the ball, he likes to move the ball, he likes to get forward, he's a good player, he's going to get a good bit of development at RB Leipzig this season, so I think it's worthwhile keeping an eye on him. Remember, when it comes to transfers, City are interested in any player that's doing well, and there's a big difference between Manchester City being interested in a player and Manchester City actively seeking to make a move for that player. That's always the big first hurdle. City will get linked with more central midfielders between now and the winter transfer window and the summer transfer window, and Xavi Simons is just one of many players that I'm expecting for me to be speaking about when it comes to my Manchester City transfer update. So do stick around and do subscribe if you haven't already. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships or any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim, and do let me know your thoughts as well in the comments below, and I'll see you all again real soon for the next Manchester City video. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.